I can't walk you down the aisle, Harper. You're just not my priority right now. My father's words came through the phone with casual cruelty, like he was declining a dinner invitation instead of his daughter's wedding. I stood in my apartment living room, holding the phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. Outside, the Seattle rain streaked down the windows. Inside, my world was tilting sideways. Dad, the wedding is in 4 months. I sent you the invitation 6 weeks ago. I know, but Brittany and I have plans that weekend. We're taking the twins to Disneyland. It's already booked. Brittany, his wife of 3 years, 28 years old, closer to my age than his. The twins were her children from a previous relationship. My father had become their stepfather with enthusiasm he'd never shown me. Can't you reschedule? My voice cracked despite my effort to stay calm. Harper, you need to understand. I have a new family now, new responsibilities. The twins are my priority. New family, as if I'd become old family, expired, replaceable. I'm your daughter, I whispered. And I wish you well. Send pictures. He hung up before I could respond. I stared at my phone, then at my reflection in the dark window. At 29, I'd finally found happiness with Cole, my fiancé of 2 years. Planning this wedding had been joyful until this moment. What my father didn't know was that his rejection had just set something in motion he'd never see coming. My name is Harper Lancaster, and I'd spent 29 years trying to matter to my father. It never worked. My parents divorced when I was 8. My father, Harrison, remarried quickly, a pattern he'd repeat 3 more times. Each new wife brought a reset button. He'd throw himself into being the perfect husband, the perfect stepfather, while I watched from the sidelines. My mother, Claudia, raised me alone while working 2 jobs. She never complained, but I saw her exhaustion. I saw the child support checks that came late or not at all. I saw her sacrifice while my father vacationed with his new families. Harrison's second marriage lasted 4 years. His third, barely 2. Each divorce meant a period where he'd remember I existed. He'd call occasionally, promise visits that rarely happened, send birthday cards with generic messages. Then came Brittany, wife number 4, young, energetic, with twin 6-year-old boys from her first marriage. Harrison transformed instantly into devoted stepfather. He coached their soccer team. He attended their school events. He posted constantly on social media about his boys. Meanwhile, my college graduation passed without him. My first apartment received no housewarming visit. My engagement announcement got a brief text. Congrats. I'd learned to expect nothing, but asking him to walk me down the aisle, I'd thought that might be different, traditional, important enough to prioritize. I was wrong. The morning after my father's rejection, I woke up with swollen eyes and a new determination. Cole found me at the kitchen table, laptop open, notepad filled with notes. Babe, you okay? He sat beside me, concern etched on his face. I'm done, I said simply. Done trying to matter to someone who doesn't care. Done making excuses for him. Done being hurt. What are you thinking? I showed him my notepad. Plan B and maybe Plan C. Cole read my notes, his expression shifting from confusion to understanding to something like admiration. You're serious about this? Completely. He said I'm not his priority. Fine. I'll show him exactly what that decision costs. My phone buzzed, a text from Harrison. Hope you understand. Maybe your uncle can walk you down the aisle instead. My uncle. His solution was to pass me off to someone else, as if fathers were interchangeable, as if his role didn't matter. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my email and began composing a message. The recipient, Alliance Children's Foundation, where I'd been volunteering for 3 years. Dear Lydia, I'd like to discuss expanding my volunteer work and possibly joining your fundraising committee. I have some ideas I'd like to propose. Are you available this week? Cole watched me type. The charity, how does that connect? I smiled. You'll see, trust me. What Harrison didn't know was that his rejection had just pushed me toward something bigger than both of us. Alliance Children's Foundation focused on supporting children from broken homes. Kids whose parents were absent, neglectful, or inconsistent. I'd started volunteering after college, finding purpose in helping children who reminded me of my younger self. Lydia Chen, the executive director, responded within hours. "Harper, I'd love to discuss this. Can you come in tomorrow?" The next day, I sat in Lydia's office overlooking downtown Seattle. At 53, she'd built the foundation from nothing, driven by her own childhood experiences with an absent parent. "I want to do more," I told her. "Not just volunteer hours. I want to help with fundraising, event planning, donor relations, whatever you need." Lydia studied me carefully. "This is sudden. What changed?" I hesitated, then decided on honesty. My father just refused to walk me down the aisle, said I'm not his priority. It made me realize I've been waiting for him to care while I could be focusing that energy on kids who actually need support. Her expression softened with understanding. "I'm sorry about your father, but if you're serious about this, I have a major project coming up. Our annual gala is in 5 months. It's our biggest fundraiser of the year, bringing in nearly $2 million. I could use someone with fresh ideas and genuine passion." 5 months, 1 month after my wedding. "I'm interested," I said immediately. "The gala gets significant media coverage," Lydia continued. "Local news, lifestyle magazines, social media influencers. It's high profile. The planning committee would be your responsibility." My mind raced with possibilities. Over the next week, I threw myself into wedding planning and foundation work simultaneously. Cole supported both endeavors, understanding that I needed purpose beyond my father's rejection. My mother helped with wedding details, her presence highlighting Harrison's absence. She never criticized him directly, but I saw anger in her eyes when I mentioned his refusal. "You deserve better," was all she said. "You've always deserved better from him." I asked my Uncle Wesley, my mother's brother, to walk me down the aisle. He agreed immediately, honored to do so. But it wasn't the same. It was a substitute for something that should have been natural. At the foundation, I met with the gala planning committee. 12 volunteers, all passionate about the cause. I proposed new ideas, a live auction featuring local celebrities, a video presentation showing the foundation's impact, personal testimonies from children we'd helped. "This could be our most successful gala yet," Lydia said after I presented my complete vision. "Harper, I'd like to make you the lead coordinator. Are you up for it?" "Absolutely," I replied without hesitation. That evening, I received an email from someone I'd connected with through the foundation, Nolan Brooks, a local news anchor who'd covered our events before. He'd heard about my increased involvement and wanted to discuss the upcoming gala. "Might be a good human interest story," his email read. "Volunteer turned coordinator, passion for helping kids from broken homes. Would you be open to an interview?" I stared at the email, thinking. Then I smiled and typed my response. "Yes, I'd love to share my story." 2 months before the wedding, everything accelerated. The ceremony details came together beautifully. Cole and I found the perfect venue, a garden overlooking Puget Sound. My dress was altered and ready. The guest list was finalized, 80 people including family and close friends. Harrison's name wasn't on it. After his rejection, I'd quietly removed his invitation. If I wasn't his priority, he didn't deserve a seat at my celebration. At the foundation, gala preparations intensified. I coordinated with vendors, confirmed celebrity participants for the auction, and worked with Lydia on the evening's program. The event would honor children who'd overcome adversity and showcase the foundation's success stories. Nolan Brooks scheduled my interview for 3 weeks before the wedding. His producer explained they wanted to air it as part of their Community Champions segment, highlighting people making a difference. "We'll film at the foundation," Nolan explained during our pre-interview call. "Show you working with the kids planning the gala, and we'd like to discuss what motivated your involvement. Is there a personal connection?" "There is," I confirmed. "My father was absent most of my life. inconsistent, always prioritizing other families over me. I understand what these kids feel like. Would you be comfortable discussing that on camera? I thought about Harrison, about his casual cruelty, about 29 years of feeling unimportant. Yes, I think it's important to talk about how absent parents affect children, even adult children. Perfect. This will be a powerful piece. After the call, Cole asked if I was sure about publicly discussing my father. He made his choice, I said firmly. I'm making mine. 3 weeks before the wedding, Nolan and his crew arrived at Alliance Children's Foundation. They filmed me working with kids on art projects, discussing plans with Lydia, reviewing gala details with the committee. Then came the sit-down interview. Tell me about your connection to this cause, Nolan began, camera rolling. I took a breath. I grew up with an inconsistent father. He was physically present sometimes, but emotionally absent most of the time. After my parents divorced, he remarried multiple times. Each new family became his priority while I watched from the sidelines. That must have been difficult. It was. I spent years trying to matter to him, trying to be important enough to prioritize. It never worked. I paused. Recently, I asked him to walk me down the aisle at my wedding. He refused, said I wasn't his priority. He chose a Disneyland trip with his stepchildren instead. Nolan's expression showed genuine sympathy. How did that feel? Honestly, it was clarifying. I realized I'd been seeking validation from someone incapable of giving it. So I redirected that energy here to kids who actually need support. Kids who know what it feels like to be someone's lowest priority. And now you're coordinating the foundation's biggest fundraiser. Yes, the annual gala raises funds to support these children. Counseling, mentorship programs, educational resources, everything they need to overcome the damage absent parents cause. The interview continued for 40 minutes. I discussed the gala details, the foundation's impact, my vision for expanding our programs. But the heart of the piece was my personal story. When does this air? I asked afterward. 2 weeks, right before your wedding, actually. Perfect timing. 10 days before the wedding, final preparations consumed my life. Dress fitting, seating arrangements, last-minute vendor confirmations. My mother helped with everything, her excitement contagious. I'm so proud of you, she said while we addressed thank you cards. Not just for the wedding, for everything you've built. The foundation work, your career, your strength. I worked as a marketing director for a tech startup, a job I'd earned through hard work and creativity. My life was full and meaningful. Harrison's absence had shaped me, but it hadn't broken me. Uncle Wesley called to confirm details about walking me down the aisle. It's an honor, Harper. Truly, I just wish. Don't, I interrupted gently. You're here, you've always been here, that's what matters. At the foundation, the gala was 6 weeks away. Ticket sales were strong. The auction items were impressive. Local businesses had donated generously. Everything was falling into place. Then Lydia called with unexpected news. Harper, the mayor's office, contacted us. They want to attend the gala and present the foundation with a community service award. This is huge publicity. That's amazing. There's more. They're bringing local media. This event is going to be covered extensively. Your leadership is getting noticed. After hanging up, I sat quietly, processing. The gala would have significant visibility, media coverage, public recognition. And my interview with Nolan would air in 4 days, explaining exactly why this cause mattered to me. Harrison would see it. His friends would see it. Everyone would know how he'd treated me and how I'd responded by building something meaningful. The interview aired on a Tuesday evening during the local news hours, Community Champions segment. Cole and I watched together, my mother joining us via video call. The piece opened with footage of me working with kids at the foundation. Nolan's voiceover explained my role as gala coordinator. Then came the personal story. My face filled the screen as I discussed Harrison's absence, his pattern of prioritizing new families, his rejection of walking me down the aisle. He said I wasn't his priority, my televised self explained calmly. So I found a better priority, helping children who understand that pain. The segment showed the foundation's work, the upcoming gala's importance, my vision for expanding programs. It ended with Nolan's summary. Harper Lancaster transforms personal pain into purpose, coordinating an event that will raise millions for children from broken homes. She proves that sometimes the best response to rejection is remarkable action. My phone exploded immediately. Text messages, social media notifications, emails. Friends and former colleagues expressing support, strangers praising my work, foundation donors offering increased contributions. And then, 40 minutes after the broadcast, Harrison called. I stared at his name on my screen, my heart pounding. Cole watched me carefully. "You don't have to answer," he said quietly. But I did. I needed to hear what he'd say. "Hello, Harrison." I used his first name deliberately. He'd forfeited Dad when he chose Disneyland over my wedding. His voice was tight with anger. "What the hell was that, Harper?" "What was what?" I asked calmly, though my hands shook. "That interview. You made me look terrible, airing our private business on television." I shared my story, my experience. Nothing I said was untrue. "You're trying to embarrass me. People are calling, asking questions. Do you know how this makes me look?" The irony was almost funny. He cared about appearances, about how others perceived him, but he didn't care about actually being present. "Harrison, you refuse to walk me down the aisle because I'm not your priority. Those were your exact words. I didn't make you look bad. Your choices did. I have responsibilities. The twins needed this trip. You're an adult. You should understand." "I understand perfectly. You chose a theme park over your daughter's wedding. You've chosen other families over me my entire life. I finally stopped waiting for that to change." This interview was revenge, petty revenge. I laughed, surprising myself. Revenge would be doing nothing, letting your rejection define me. Instead, I'm coordinating a gala that'll raise millions for kids you don't care about, kids who remind me of myself. Silence, then quieter. "I didn't realize you felt this way." "You never asked, you never noticed, and honestly, I'm done explaining myself to you. The interview wasn't about revenge, it was about truth." "Harper, I'm getting married in 8 days. You're not invited. You made your priorities clear. I've made mine." I hung up before he could respond, my entire body trembling. Cole pulled me close. "You okay?" "I'm perfect," I whispered. Finally. The interview's impact rippled outward over the next week. The foundation received dozens of new donor inquiries. Volunteers signed up to help. Local businesses offered auction items for the gala. Lydia was ecstatic. "Harper, this visibility is incredible. Your story resonated with so many people. We're going to exceed our fundraising goal by at least 30%. The attention felt surreal. Strangers recognized me in coffee shops, expressing support. A local magazine requested an interview about balancing wedding planning with foundation work. A nonprofit leadership organization invited me to speak at their conference. Meanwhile, according to my Uncle Wesley, Harrison was dealing with fallout. His friends had seen the interview. His coworkers discussed it. Brittany's family asked uncomfortable questions. "He's claiming you blindsided him," Wesley reported, "saying he offered to participate in the wedding but you excluded him." I laughed bitterly. Of course he is. He's rewriting history so he's the victim. Anyone who knows him sees through it. Your aunt and I fielded questions from family members. We told them the truth. My wedding day approached rapidly. Final dress fitting, rehearsal dinner planning, last-minute details. Through it all, I felt unexpectedly peaceful. Harrison's absence hurt, but it no longer defined me. Cole's family welcomed me warmly, his parents treating me like their daughter. My mother beamed with pride. Uncle Wesley prepared his aisle-walking duties seriously, joking that he'd been practicing his slow, ceremonial walk. 3 days before the wedding, I received an unexpected email from Brittany. "Harper, I saw your interview. I'm sorry for how Harrison treated you. I didn't know he'd refused to walk you down the aisle. He told me you hadn't invited him. I feel terrible about the Disneyland trip now. If I'd known, I would have rescheduled. Congratulations on your wedding and your foundation work. You're clearly an amazing person. Brittany. I read the email twice, surprised by its sincerity. Brittany was young, probably naive about Harrison's patterns. She'd believe his version of events until experience taught her otherwise. I responded simply, "Thank you for the message. I appreciate it. I hope you and the twins are well." I didn't blame Brittany. Harrison was the parent, the one responsible for prioritizing his child. She was just another woman who'd eventually learn who he really was. My bachelorette party happened that weekend, a small gathering with close friends. We celebrated at a wine bar, laughing and sharing stories. My best friend, Quinn, toasted to new beginnings. To Harper, who turned heartbreak into purpose, who builds up instead of tearing down, who proves that you don't need validation from people who can't see your worth. Everyone raised their glasses. I felt genuine joy, surrounded by people who actually showed up for me. The next morning, Quinn told me something interesting. "My mom saw your interview. She called Harrison's wife before you, Angela. They were friends. Apparently, Angela left him for similar reasons. Said he was always prioritizing work over her, never present, emotionally unavailable." "He has a pattern," I observed. "Multiple patterns, and you broke the pattern of letting him hurt you." She was right. I'd finally stopped the cycle. My wedding day arrived with perfect weather, sunny and 72 degrees. The garden venue overlooked the water, flowers blooming everywhere, white chairs arranged in neat rows. I stood in the bridal suite, my mother helping with final touches on my dress. In the mirror, I saw a woman who looked happy, confident, complete. No trace of the girl who'd spent years seeking her father's approval. "You're beautiful," my mother whispered, tears in her eyes. "Inside and out, I'm so proud of who you've become." Uncle Wesley knocked on the door, dressed in his tuxedo. "Ready." Quinn and my other bridesmaids went ahead. My mother kissed my cheek and followed. Then it was just me and my uncle. "I know I'm not who you wanted walking you down the aisle," he said gently. "You're exactly who I want," I replied honestly. "You've been there for me my entire life. Every school play, every graduation, every important moment. You didn't have to be, but you chose to. That means everything." His eyes glistened. "Let's go get you married, kiddo." The music started. We walked down the aisle together, and I saw Cole waiting at the altar, his expression full of love. I saw friends and family smiling. I saw the life I'd built despite Harrison's absence. When Uncle Wesley placed my hand in Cole's, he whispered, "She's remarkable. Take care of her." "Always," Cole promised. The ceremony was perfect. Personal vows, laughter, happy tears. We were pronounced married as the sun set over the water, painting everything golden. At the reception, I danced with Cole, with my mother, with Uncle Wesley. I celebrated with people who'd shown up, who'd chosen to be present. Harrison's absence was noticeable, but it didn't diminish my joy. The next morning, Cole and I left for our honeymoon in Hawaii. 2 weeks of beaches, relaxation, and celebrating our marriage. The foundation gala was 4 weeks away when we returned, giving me time to decompress before the final push. On the plane, scrolling through wedding photos my photographer had already previewed, I felt completely content. The images showed genuine happiness, no forced smiles, no underlying sadness. "No regrets?" Cole asked, knowing what I was thinking. "None. This was exactly what I wanted. Everyone there actually wanted to be there." My phone, which I'd promised to mostly ignore during the honeymoon, showed one text I decided to read. From Quinn, "Your wedding photos are everywhere. The venue posted them, guests are sharing them, and someone tagged that local lifestyle magazine. You two look absolutely in love." I smiled, turning my phone to airplane mode. Let the world see my happiness. Let Harrison see what he'd missed. When we returned from Hawaii, tanned and relaxed, I walked into the foundation office to find celebration decorations everywhere. Lydia greeted me with a huge hug. "Welcome back, Mrs. Reynolds. How was the honeymoon?" "Perfect. What's all this?" "Gala update. We sold out every ticket. The waiting list is 50 people long. Corporate sponsorships doubled. This is going to be our biggest event ever, and it's largely because of your leadership and the visibility your story brought." I looked around at the office. Volunteers working, children's artwork on walls, photos of kids we'd helped. This mattered. This was real impact. "Let's make it unforgettable," I said. The final 4 weeks before the gala flew by in intense preparation. Every detail needed perfect execution. The venue, a historic hotel ballroom downtown, was confirmed. The catering was finalized. The auction items were cataloged and displayed online for preview bidding. Local celebrities confirmed their participation. A famous chef donated a private dinner. A professional athlete offered signed memorabilia. A popular band agreed to perform. The program included video presentations showing children's success stories. Kids who'd struggled with absent parents but thrived with the foundation's support. Their testimonies were powerful, heartbreaking, inspiring. I worked with the videographer to ensure we told these stories respectfully, highlighting resilience without exploiting pain. Each child gave permission to share their experience. Several wanted to attend the gala, to thank donors in person. "This is going to be emotional," Lydia warned. "But that emotion drives donations. When people see real impact, they give generously." Media coverage intensified as the date approached. Nolan Brooks did a follow-up segment showing gala preparations and re-emphasizing the foundation's mission. Other local news stations requested interviews. Lifestyle magazines featured the event in their calendars. My name appeared in these articles as lead coordinator. My background, the interview about Harrison's rejection, was often mentioned. Volunteer turned coordinator transforms personal pain into fundraising success. Quinn texted, "You're kind of famous now. How does that feel?" "Weird," I admitted, "but if it helps the foundation, I'll take it." 3 weeks before the gala, I received a surprising email from Harrison. "Harper, I'd like to talk. Can we meet for coffee?" Harrison. I stared at the email, my first instinct to delete it, but curiosity won. "Why?" I replied simply. His response came within minutes. "I owe you an apology, a real one. Please, 1 hour of your time." I showed the email to Cole that evening. "It's your choice," he said carefully, "but don't expect too much. People like him rarely change." "I know, but maybe I need to hear what he has to say, for closure if nothing else." I agreed to meet Harrison at a neutral coffee shop. 3 days later, I arrived early, ordering tea and settling at a corner table. My stomach churned with nerves despite my attempt at emotional detachment. Harrison arrived exactly on time, looking older than I remembered. Stress showed in his face, in the way he carried himself. "Thank you for meeting me," he said, sitting down carefully. I waited, saying nothing. He cleared his throat. "I saw your interview. I saw the articles about the foundation work. Your wedding photos that friends shared. I've been doing a lot of thinking. And I was wrong about everything. About prioritizing the Disneyland trip, about how I've treated you your entire life, about not being present." He paused. "I'm sorry, Harper, truly sorry." The apology hung between us. I examined his face, looking for sincerity or manipulation. "What changed?" I asked. "Why apologize now?" "Honestly, seeing the consequences, seeing what you built without me, realizing I missed your wedding, one of the most important days of your life, because I was too selfish to reschedule a theme park trip." I sipped my tea, processing his words. Part of me wanted to accept the apology immediately, to grab the crumb of paternal affection I'd always craved. But I'd learned better. "You're sorry because you look bad," I said quietly. "Because people are asking questions, because your choices became public." "That's not," he stopped, reconsidered. "Maybe initially, but Harper, I've been thinking about this for weeks, about all the times I wasn't there. Your school events, your graduation, your engagement. I convinced myself I had good reasons that you'd understand, but I was just being selfish. You were, for my entire life. He flinched. I know, and I can't undo that, but I want to try to be better if you'll let me. Why should I? You've had 29 years to try. You chose not to. Because I'm asking, because I finally understand what I've lost. His voice cracked slightly. I missed your wedding, Harper. I'll never get that back, but maybe I don't have to miss everything else. I set down my tea carefully. Harrison, I appreciate the apology, but words are easy. You've apologized before, promised to do better, then disappeared when something more interesting came along. Why should this time be different? Because I'll prove it. However long it takes, I'll show up. I'll be consistent. I'll make you a priority. I laughed bitterly. That's what I needed as a child, as a teenager, even as a young adult. But I'm 30 now, married, building a life that doesn't require your validation anymore. I don't need you to prioritize me. I learned to prioritize myself. Silence fell between us. Harrison looked genuinely distressed, but I felt surprisingly unmoved. The desperation I'd once felt for his attention had evaporated. What can I do, he asked finally, to make this right? Nothing. You can't make it right. You can't undo years of absence. You can't give me back the father I needed growing up. But moving forward, I'm focused on my marriage, my career, and the foundation. I don't have emotional energy for rebuilding a relationship you never valued. He absorbed this, his expression pained. So that's it, we're done. We've been done for a long time. I was just the last to accept it. Harper, please, you're my daughter, that has to mean something. It should, but you never acted like it did. I gathered my bag, preparing to leave. I forgive you, Harrison, truly, but forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. I can forgive you and still protect myself from future disappointment. What about holidays, family events? I'll be polite if we're at the same gatherings, but I'm not interested in regular contact or rebuilding closeness. That ship sailed when you chose Disneyland over my wedding. I stood. Harrison remained seated, looking smaller somehow. For what it's worth, I said at the door, I hope you're actually better to Brittany and the twins. They deserve consistency. Learn from your mistakes, even if I'm not willing to give you another chance to make them with me. I walked out of the coffee shop feeling lighter than expected. The conversation I dreaded had freed me instead of burdening me. Cole picked me up outside the coffee shop, reading my expression immediately. How did it go? Surprisingly well. He apologized, I didn't accept it. We're done. Cole pulled into traffic, glancing at me with concern. You okay? Honestly, I'm great. I spent years wanting him to care, to apologize, to choose me. But now that he's trying, I realize I don't need it anymore. That wound healed. I'm complete without him. That's growth. It's freedom. The next 2 weeks passed quickly. Gala preparations reached their peak. Every detail was confirmed, double-checked, perfected. The event would showcase everything the foundation achieved and inspire donors to give generously. I coordinated with volunteers, confirmed celebrity arrivals, reviewed the evening's program with Lydia. The children giving testimonies rehearsed their presentations. The band conducted sound checks. The chef prepared his menu. This is going to be incredible, Quinn said, helping me organize silent auction items the day before the gala. And you made it happen. We all made it happen, I corrected. The team, the volunteers, Lydia's leadership. But you brought the vision and the visibility. That interview put the foundation on the map. She was right. My decision to share my story publicly, to transform Harrison's rejection into purpose, had created ripples beyond anything I'd expected. The night before the gala, I couldn't sleep. Nervous energy kept me awake, mentally reviewing every detail. Cole found me at midnight, sitting in our living room with my planning binder. It's going to be perfect, he assured me. You've thought of everything. I hope so. This matters. These kids matter. The gala day arrived with beautiful weather and perfect logistics. I arrived at the hotel at 2 in the afternoon to oversee final setup. The ballroom transformed before my eyes, elegant decorations, perfectly arranged tables, auction displays showcasing every donated item. Volunteers arrived to help with last-minute tasks. Lydia coordinated with the hotel staff. The band set up on stage. Everything flowed smoothly. At 6 o'clock, I went to the designated suite to change into my gown, a deep blue dress that felt both elegant and appropriate. Quinn helped with hair and makeup while reviewing the evening's timeline. "You look amazing," she said, ready to wow 500 guests. Ready to raise millions for kids who need it. At 7, guests began arriving. I stood near the entrance with Lydia, greeting donors, thanking sponsors, welcoming everyone. Local politicians arrived, including the mayor who'd attend the awards presentation. News crews set up for coverage. Photographers captured everything. The ballroom filled with Seattle's most generous philanthropists, all dressed elegantly, all there to support children from broken homes. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd come from a broken home myself, and now I was leading an event to help others like me. At 7:30, Lydia welcomed everyone and the program began. Dinner was served while a video presentation showed the foundation's history and impact. Then came the children's testimonies. A 12-year-old girl named Rosalie spoke about her father abandoning her family and how the foundation's counseling helped her cope. A 16-year-old boy named Terrence described being bounced between parents who didn't want him and finding stability through our mentorship program. Each story was powerful. The ballroom was silent except for occasional sniffles as guests absorbed these children's experiences. Then Lydia introduced me. Our lead coordinator, Harper Reynolds, will discuss tonight's fundraising goals and how your donations create real change. I walked to the podium, looking out at 500 faces. The lights were bright, cameras rolling, everyone watching. "Thank you all for being here," I began. "Your presence demonstrates commitment to children who desperately need support. Children who face challenges no child should face, absent parents, inconsistent care, feeling like they don't matter to the people who should love them most." I paused, gathering courage. I understand their experience personally. My father was inconsistent my entire life, always prioritizing new families over me. Recently, he refused to walk me down the aisle at my wedding because, in his words, I wasn't his priority. The room was absolutely silent. That rejection hurt, but it also clarified something. I'd been seeking validation from someone incapable of giving it, so I redirected that energy here to kids who actually need support. Tonight isn't about my father's failure. It's about our collective commitment to succeed where parents failed. I explained the fundraising goals: $2 million to expand counseling services, mentorship programs, and educational resources. I highlighted specific programs and their costs. I made the appeal personal and urgent. Every child deserves to feel valued, to feel like someone's priority. We can't fix absent parents, but we can provide resources that help these kids thrive anyway. Your donations literally change lives. The applause was thunderous. As I returned to my seat, Lydia whispered, "That was perfect." The auction began, with celebrities presenting items and guests bidding enthusiastically. The energy in the room was electric. The auction exceeded all expectations. The private chef's dinner sold for $15,000. The athlete's memorabilia went for $12,000. A vacation package brought in $20,000. Item after item sold at generous prices, each purchase greeted with applause. During the live auction's peak, my phone buzzed in my clutch. I ignored it, focused on the event, but it buzzed again and again. During a brief transition, I checked. Multiple texts from family members, all saying variations of the same thing. "Harper, your gala is on the news right now. They're showing it live." I looked toward the news crews I'd noticed earlier, realizing their coverage was more extensive than I'd understood. They were broadcasting segments live, showing the ballroom, the auction, the testimonies. Quinn appeared beside me, showing her phone. "Look, you're trending locally on social media. People are sharing clips of your speech, the kids' stories, the auction results. This is huge. The final auction item, a week-long stay at a luxury resort, sold for $35,000. The crowd erupted in applause. Lydia returned to the podium for the final tally. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks to your incredible generosity, we've raised. She paused dramatically. $2.7 million. The ballroom exploded with celebration. People stood, applauding, cheering. We'd exceeded our goal by $700,000. Children who'd given testimonies were crying happy tears, hugging volunteers. I felt overwhelmed by the magnitude of what we'd accomplished. This money would fund programs for years. It would change hundreds of lives. The mayor presented the foundation with a community service award, praising our work and specifically mentioning my leadership. More applause, more photos, more media coverage. As the evening wound down and guests began departing, countless people approached to congratulate me personally, to thank me for my work, to commit to future donations. You've built something remarkable, one major donor told me. Your story inspired this whole room. That takes courage. Cole found me near midnight, after most guests had left and volunteers were beginning cleanup. I was standing quietly in the ballroom, looking at the space that had held so much energy hours before. "How are you feeling?" he asked, wrapping his arms around me. "Exhausted, amazed, grateful." I leaned against him. "We actually did it. $2.7 million for kids who need it." "You did it. This was your vision." My phone had continued buzzing all evening. I finally looked at the messages properly. Dozens from friends and former colleagues who'd seen the news coverage. Several from family members expressing pride. Even some from people I hadn't spoken to in years. And one from Harrison. "I watched the gala coverage. I saw your speech. What you've built is incredible. I'm sorry I wasn't there to see it in person. I'm sorry for everything. I understand if you never want to speak to me again, but please know I'm genuinely proud of you. Harrison." I showed the message to Cole without commenting. "What are you going to do?" he asked. "Nothing. He can be proud from a distance. I meant what I said at the coffee shop. I'm done seeking his validation." I deleted the message and turned off my phone. The next morning, I woke to discover the gala's impact had extended far beyond the evening itself. Local news stations ran follow-up segments. The foundation's website crashed from traffic, hundreds of people wanting to donate or volunteer. Lydia called, ecstatic. "Harper, we've received $50,000 in online donations since last night. People who couldn't attend but saw the coverage. This is unprecedented." The week following the gala brought continuous recognition. Style and Substance magazine requested another feature. A nonprofit leadership organization invited me to keynote their conference. The foundation's board asked me to consider a permanent paid position as development director. "You've proven your talent," Lydia explained. "This could be a career change if you're interested. We can offer a competitive salary." I discussed it with Cole that evening. My marketing job was stable and paid well, but the foundation work felt more meaningful. "What does your gut say?" he asked. "That I've found my purpose. That helping these kids matters more than selling tech products." "Then there's your answer." I accepted the position, giving my marketing job 2 months' notice. My boss was disappointed but understanding. "You're making a real difference," he said. "That's rare." Meanwhile, Harrison's attempts at contact continued. He sent emails I didn't answer, texts I deleted. He called once. I let it go to voicemail. His message was apologetic and desperate. "Harper, please. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but can we at least try? I want to be part of your life. I want to do better. Please call me back." Quinn asked if I felt guilty for not responding. "No, I gave him 29 years of chances. He used them all." My mother understood completely. "You don't owe him anything, sweetheart. You've built a beautiful life without him. Don't let him disrupt that now." 6 weeks after the gala, I officially started as the foundation's development director. My office overlooked the city, filled with photos of children we'd helped. 3 months after the gala, I sat in my foundation office reviewing proposals for new programs funded by our successful fundraiser. Expanded counseling services, additional mentorship opportunities, educational scholarships, all made possible by that evening. Children's thank you letters covered my bulletin board. Hand-drawn pictures, heartfelt notes, expressions of gratitude that made every challenging moment worthwhile. My phone rang, an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Harper Reynolds. Ms. Reynolds, this is Nalin Brooks. I wanted to let you know, your story has been nominated for a Regional Journalism Award. The Community Impact category. The judges felt your interview and subsequent gala coverage represented exemplary human interest reporting. I sat back stunned. That's incredible. The awards ceremony is next month. You'd be invited as a special guest. Would you attend? Absolutely. After hanging up, I reflected on the past 6 months. Harrison's rejection, my wedding without him, the decision to transform pain into purpose, the gala's success, my career change, all of it connected. Cole found me smiling at my desk that evening when he picked me up. Good day. The best. Come here, I want to show you something. I pulled up the foundation's updated statistics on my computer. Since the gala, we'd enrolled 43 new children in programs. Donation rates had increased 200%. 3 additional corporate sponsors had committed long-term funding. We're changing lives, I said simply. Real, measurable impact. You're changing lives, Cole corrected, by refusing to let rejection define you. He was right. Harrison's words, "You're not my priority," could have devastated me. Instead, they'd freed me to find my true priority, helping children who understood exactly how that rejection felt. My phone buzzed with a text from Lydia. Board meeting tomorrow. They want to discuss expanding your role to oversee all development operations. Congratulations. I looked around my office, at the children's letters, at the photos of the gala, at the evidence of purpose-driven work. This was success, not the kind my father would recognize or value, but the kind that actually mattered. Harrison had refused to walk me down the aisle because I wasn't his priority. That single act of rejection had set everything in motion. It had pushed me toward meaningful work, toward helping others, toward building something that would outlast any wedding day. Sometimes the people who abandon us do us the greatest favor. They show us we're capable of more than seeking their approval. They force us to find our own worth, our own purpose, our own priorities. I'd spent 29 years trying to matter to my father. Now, I spent my days ensuring vulnerable children knew they mattered, regardless of their parents' failures. That was the real victory. Not revenge, not even forgiveness, but transformation. Turning pain into purpose, choosing significance over validation. My father said I wasn't his priority. He was right, I wasn't. But hundreds of children who needed support, they were mine. And that made all the difference.